The Creators Collective provides information not only on woodworking, but metalworking, leather, electronics, and more. But that's not all. It also comes with 3 hosts to answer all your creating questions. Now, listen along as James Wright, Zach Herberholtz, and William Walker fumble through answering your questions live each Thursday morning. Listen in now, and you can have this amazing podcast for the simple monthly installment of a Patreon subscription. But we're just getting started.
And I do want to say thank you to our patrons, particularly Master of None, Debbie Brooke, and Make Build Modify. You guys are what are helping us keep going. So thank you for that.
What did you guys think of that new intro?
Yeah, I want to say thank you to Jason Wright for helping us with the new intros. We're going to be having a little bit of fun with that in the future. So if you guys like that, let us know. Yeah, we're having having a lot of fun here today. Zach, why didn't you kick us off? What do you have going on?
Oh, I haven't even thought about it. Well, I have a cold for one, so.
Well, we can skip you and go to Will, and you can think about it.
I can think about it.
Will, what you got?
Well, I just got back from Germany on Friday and just trying to get caught up with everything. But I'm back in the shop working on a box-jointed medicine cabinet with book-matched back panel and book-matched panel doors in the front out of curly cherry. And some other Christmas gifts.
Curly cherry, nice.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's the problem with Christmas Chris and a YouTube channel. Do you release the video before Christmas when it's actually appropriate?
Right? And then like you give it to whoever it's going to, and it's like, yeah, that was actually for you. But I couldn't tell you.
I'm going to try and do a Christmas video here coming up. Actually, you know what? You're still talking about what's new with you. So how was Germany? That's exciting.
Germany was awesome. So we flew into Munich and then took the train to Lindau, which is on Bodensee, which is Lake Constance, which is right at the border of Austria and across the lake from Switzerland. So that was amazing. And then we rented a Mercedes and tried to take the Alpenstrasse, which is the Alpine Road, to Fusten, where the fairy tale castle was. But they had their
You're
first
just making these words up,
and
or are they real?
Half the time I just stumbled through in Germany and just kind of went and sometimes I got a beer. Sometimes I got a beer and sometimes I didn't. But then they had their first snow the night before we rented the car. So I made the reservation, and then it snowed. And then we tried to take the Alpine Road that was covered in snow in a rear-wheel drive Mercedes sports car, and we had to turn around. But then we went to Munich, and I had a couple days while my wife was speaking at a conference. So I hooked up with Bill Sin. I don't know if you guys know him. He's a Greek guy living in Munich, and he's a member of a makerspace over there. So we got to have a little bit of shop time. We glued up a blank to make a pennyboard skateboard for him to ride around his office in. So that was fun. Got a little shop time in Germany and got to teach him how to use a bandsaw and change bandsaw blades and stuff. So that was cool.
Cool.
Sounds like an awesome trip.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really, really cool.
My list.
Definitely do it. My only regret is that so in Germany they're like all about Christmas because they don't have Thanksgiving to, interrupt their fall. So everything is Christmas there, and we just missed the Christmas markets, which were opening like the week after we were there. But oh well.
No, that's one of the funny things with my wife was telling me, because she spent a year in South Africa, and she's been back there a couple times, but in other countries, it is not inappropriate to start Christmasing before Thanksgiving.
I like how Christmasing is a word.
Yeah,
it's a verb now.
States, because we have Thanksgiving, we can't do anything about it until after Thanksgiving.
Turning nouns into verbs is like one of my favorite pastimes.
I love verbing.
Yeah, I'm gonna go couch. Yeah.
Right on. What are you working on, James?
Well, I'm working on, I'm finishing up. This last month, I put out 32 videos in 30 days. And I'm glad to be I uploaded the last video last night, and it should be going live here in about 2 hours, and I'll be done with the month of November.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I gotta say, so I know you were doing it as an experiment to see if there's any growth or engagement in your channel, posting a video every day. Did you see a big spike? And B, I really enjoyed it. I watched most of them, I think. It was nice to just have these short videos with, simple shop skills as you were doing them. What does the dull chisel look like? What does the dull chisel feel like? That was, I don't know, really enjoyable. So yeah, the two parts were, one, did you see growth? And two, is just good job.
Well, I did not see nearly as much as I expected. I actually, my subscriber growth was down big time. It hurt the subscriber count, which I don't know exactly why. I didn't lose a lot of subscribers. I just didn't gain much. And I think part of that was because most of the videos, having that many videos so fast, the average view dropped through the floor. Whereas opposed to getting, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 on an average regular video, I was getting 3,000, maybe 4,000. And so that was surprising. But because of putting out so many more, the total views and watch time for the channel was way up. So I'm going to be doing, from here on out, I'm doing the 3 a week, what I had been doing. That seems to be about the right balance for what I do.
I feel like November has been a weird month too, as far as YouTube. Like, I put out hands down the most successful video I've ever put out in the first 2 days. My that C-clamp bench that I did with at FabTech, Jimmy and April and all those people. That thing, I've never had a video. I think it hit like 40,000 views in the first day, which is just mind blowing for me. And then YouTube killed it. Like, it's still there, but it's just like not getting any views. It's really, really strange. And I also wanted to try something different this month. And because normally I put out like a video every 3 weeks or so. Like, it's because most of my projects are big and they take a lot of time for me to build and edit. And that's always been my priority. But I thought, this month, I thought, there's enough products and small things that I make. I can put out some more videos and see how that does and see if the fans like it. And I think I've been consistent for 3 weeks, which is crazy for me. I put out a video every Saturday for the past 3 weeks, which I never would have thought that was possible for me to do. And they're doing okay, but they do really well the first day, and then they stop. So it's been kind of interesting. I think YouTube's up to some changing their system or something this month. But
yeah, I usually see the first, I'd say first 4 days of steady views, and then after that it just kind of gets lost in the subscription feed, like. Because so even coming back from the Germany trip, trying to get caught up on my videos that I like to watch and get inspired by, it was like, what was posted today, what was posted yesterday, and then like everything else. And you're just lucky if you get to be a thumbnail, everything else.
Yeah.
Well, I did get a few other things done this month, other than just that, like the spring pole lathe, because I didn't finish that the last time we talked, which that was absolutely, I have been in love with this thing, because I've played on a spring pole lathe before, and it is, a lot of people get sucked into the rabbit hole of running a lathe, but it's a very different thing to have a reciprocating lathe that goes both directions, and it's a whole different ball game, and a lot of fun.
Yeah, how would you even? I never even thought about it, but. So I haven't talked about what's been new for me, because I had to like put it all into bullet points so that I could figure it out. But I'll get to that in a minute. But as I'm learning about turning wood, how does that work on a spring pole lathe? Do you cut up and down, or do you only cut?
No, you only cut in one direction. So 50% of the time you're cutting, and 50% of the time it's just going the opposite direction.
Okay, because I was going to say, how do the gouges work for cutting both directions?
No, it's kind of an interesting experience because it makes riding the bevel very easy because you can establish the bevel on the return stroke, and then on the forward stroke engage it, and it becomes very, very useful for things like skews. They become extremely easy to use, whereas something like a scraper or a carbide tool become far more difficult on it because on the return stroke, rather than riding a bevel, they actually bounce the scraper away from the wood, and so you're always fighting the carbide bit to keep it in place. So it's a very different game.
Interesting.
Yeah, and scrapers, Zach, which you're once you get into the rabbit hole of turning, it's mind blowing. And like, so the way that you hold a gouge to the workpiece with a gouge is you're kind of holding the handle down, where a scraper you kind of hold the handle up.
Yeah,
because that's how you
get
get
more like a card scraper than a knife.
Huh. Yeah, I've been watching some Carl Jacobson videos trying to figure stuff out. So
yeah,
but, there's definitely a learning curve. Even just like so I guess this is as good as any segue into what I've been up to lately. So I'll take it. So since we missed last week, I put out a video on the key fobs that I sell, which was a lot of fun. I been messing around with a little bit of some different video editing stuff, and I don't know that I'll stick with it, but it's just good experience for me to try and shoot things in a different way. I tried a little bit with the key fob video, but I don't know if I've talked about it before. The lens that I shot, that was the last video that I shot with my old lens, which had like 3/4 of the lens is like impregnated with weld spatter, because I never knew that UV shields were a thing. So that lens is totally toasted. So after that video, I went out and bought another lens, and I also have like a 50 mil Nifty 50 lens for my camera. So this next video you guys can see it on my Instagram. I actually did like a metal wall art piece. I cut all these like 3D stuff out of steel and welded it out. It's like a beach scene, and ground it all down and airbrushed it. But that video is kind of different. I'm shooting that with I'm trying to shoot that only with the 50 mil lens, which is really difficult in my shop because it's tiny and you need some distance with that lens to get, the object in view. So I'm shooting it with that and my GoPro. So we'll see how it might be terrible. Like I'm kind of nervous to edit the footage because, it could go either way. I'm like, I don't know how bad the footage is going to be. It's so much different from how I normally shoot. But that one I'm hoping to have out on Saturday. We'll see. Let's see. This last week, I made a tote bag out of leather and some houndstooth liner just for fun because I got a new sewing machine, like a big industrial sewing machine. I don't know have you guys seen pictures of that thing?
Not the sewing machine. I saw the tote bag, which was awesome.
Thanks. The sewing machine, it's a Sailrite Fabricator. It feels like a small block Chevy. Like it seriously has an oil pan in the bottom. Like I'll try and post a video or a picture of it. Like you push the machine over and there's like a full size oil pan with like an oil pump and pickup. It's ridiculous. And it has like rocker arms on the side of the machine. It's a beast. So I think it'll sew. The guy said it'll sew like 2 stacks of 10-ounce leather, which is insane. Like that would be hard to do with an awl.
Yeah,
so
those are seriously a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a beast. So I made a tote bag the other day just for fun, and I threw it up on my Instagram and auctioned it off, and it sold for $300. Which was awesome. I mean, I use like probably $150 worth of material on it, so it's really nice. But and then like my Facebook and Instagram blew up, and I sold 4 more bags that I haven't even started building yet. So that's kind of been my latest endeavor. But it's a lot of fun. It's totally, I don't know. It's a good, if you're passionate about making stuff, and you don't feel like getting filthy, dirty, and grinding, especially if you're doing metal fab. I mean, I come in black every day. I look like a coal miner. So it's kind of nice that, come in, take a shower. And if you still feel like doing stuff, it's nice, clean environment. So that's been a fun.
Has a tendency to be very relaxing.
What's that?
Leather working has a tendency to be very relaxing.
It does. It's just quiet, and, you're not working with loud tools, and, you're kind of in the comfort of your own home. So it's fun. I'm really enjoying it. I look forward to being able to incorporate leather into like some of my bigger projects, but I'm kind of starting off small and graduating up and building the confidence and kind of building the skill set to where I feel like, okay, I can tackle some of the larger stuff.
Yeah. I'd like to incorporate some leather into my woodworking, like leather handles on speaker boxes and things like that.
Yeah.
Like I've been toying with the idea of making a guitar amp, or like repurposing the guts of a guitar amp and making it out of like a bourbon barrel or something.
That'd be cool. Huh. Yeah.
Yeah, with a leather handle on it.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Yep. And the other exciting thing, I don't know if you guys saw my Instagram feed the other day, but so 2 days, I was expecting a lathe, a welding table, and a drill press, and a big liftgate truck pulled up in front of my house. This is, I think, 2 days ago. And like, I recorded on my Instagram, like, here we go. And I walk up to the guy. I'm like, what do we got? What do we got? And he's like, this is actually for the neighbors. I'm like, oh, okay. As I step back, he like rolls up the door, and it's a mobility scooter for my neighbors. So it was like the most anticlimactic moment, but it was actually really fun. So I should have saved the videos because I thought they were hilarious, but you can see the moment of my disappointment when it wasn't all of those two tools. It was, I'm always talking about how old my neighbors are, and it was just perfect. It couldn't have been a more perfect moment. But yesterday I did get Nova Galaxy lathe and their Voyager drill press, which is incredible. I haven't drilled anything with it. I just spent the day trying to figure out how to get those two objects, or those two tools, into my shop somewhere. But I set them both up, and yeah, it's the drill. The lathe is going to be cool, but I chucked up a block of wood and then turned it on, and I'm like, I have no gouges. I can't do anything but just watch this spin. So it was kind of a bummer. But the drill press is so cool. Like, it's digital, and see, I'm used to like the old cheapo Porter cable, where like anytime I switch between metal and wood, I have to like get in there and move the belts around and that sort of thing, which isn't that bad. But now I just have a knob. I can just set it like whatever speed I want it to go, and it has like a digital depth thing, so you know exactly how deep you're drilling. It's pretty incredible. So
I need one of those in my shop.
Yeah.
I've been waiting. Grizzly's been working on a digital thing and waiting for it, but apparently research and development is slow.
You said your thing cut out. Did you say digital drill press?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, they're working on it. Yeah, but it's not. Apparently, they hit a snag or something, and so they haven't. They're still in prototypes.
I'm pretty excited about it. Like, it's gonna be great. So
cool. You want to jump into some questions?
Absolutely.
Let's see. First up, Jonathan, 24. One of he's always here live and listening, and a great channel to watch too. He asked about the spring pole lathe. With it turning both directions, do you think it sharpens on the returning stroke?
Huh.
Though wood dulls the tool faster than it can sharpen it. Did I read that right? No. Yeah, he's basically asking, does it sharpen the tool on the returning stroke, kind of like a strop would sharpen the bevel? And I think it would, other than the fact that whenever it rotates, it usually pushes the tool just a little ways away from the wood so it doesn't make contact, or it rolls the tool up a little bit so that the tip never really makes contact with the with the wood on the return stroke or as much. So I'm guessing it does sharpen it a little bit, but nowhere near as much as it dulls it. So yeah, that would be nice though.
Yeah.
Have a buffing
Like a
compound on the backs. Every time it came around, it would rebuff the piece you're working on.
The perpetual sharpening lathe.
Yeah.
The always sharp tool. Now, speaking of which,
Hey, actually,
what's that?
oh, sorry. I've been dying to know how. So with a spring pole lathe, can you turn bowls?
Yes. Actually, that's one of the projects I'm going to be doing here soon. You just have
I
to
look forward to it.
glue on a glue on a mandrel that you can tie to.
Okay, I got
And
you.
so you have a mandrel coming out of the middle of the bowl, and you just run it down as far as you can, and then break it off and clean it.
So what I'm curious, like I feel like since seem to be talking about lathes a lot in this episode. What kind of chuck systems should you have? I mean, I know what I understand, there's kind of two different facets of turners. You have like your spindle turners and your bowl turners, which is similar but different set of tools, and I'm sure the chucks are different. But like, what are the main chuck types that you need to be? I'm actually taking notes because I don't know.
I really like my Nova G2 4-jaw chuck. It's self-centering. It's got the dovetail jaws on it. So you chuck up one side. I use a wormwood screw, which actually chucks up into that same chuck. Turn the outside of the bowl, and then there's great debate in the turning world about whether to hold the bottom of the bowl with a recess or a tenon. So I like to do a recess. So you cut, maybe 3/16 in of the chuck jaws, and then you flip it over, and then the chuck jaws expand into that recess and hold the bowl blank on, so you can hollow the middle without a live center.
Okay, that makes sense. So so when people use when I see people like actually using like a drill bit to do stuff, like that goes in the tailstock, right? Obviously. Yeah,
that's a Morse taper Jacob.
What your audio cut out? It was what kind of chuck is that?
That's a Morse taper 2, I believe. I'm not sure what the Nova takes, but it's a Jacobs chuck.
Okay. Okay, I need to get one of those. I have I'm gonna need to start small because I have this giant stool project that I designed like 3 months ago. That's pretty much the reason I got this lathe.
The problem with the lathe is you're going to end up doubling the amount of tools in your shop in the matter of the next couple months.
Yeah, I'm scared about that. But today my goal is I have a cold today, so I don't feel that great. But I have so many orders that I need to ship out. I was going to go last week and to the post office, and then I put out that key fob video, and I started getting so many orders that I'm like, I'll just wait until this calms down, and it hasn't. So I just need to. It's my goal for today is to run to the post office, get all this stuff in the mail for everybody, and come back and clean my shop. Because although that corner of my shop with the lathe and drill press looks nice and clean, what the picture on my Instagram does not show is the rest of my shop, which looks like a hoarder's garage. Like it's just, there's crap piled on. I can't use any tool in my shop right now other than the drill press or the lathe that I have no tools for. Like my table saw is buried. So that's my goal today, is to get everything cleaned up so that I can actually work again. So,
well, speaking of lathe tools, DI Wyatt Custom Woodworks asks, any good recommendations for learning to sharpen lathe tools on a slow speed grinder?
Ooh, I guess that's me since
probably, because I don't use a slow speed grinder.
And I don't have any tools.
Yeah,
all right, so that's me.
Buying one too.
a lot of people in the woodworking and the wood turning world will suggest the Wolverine jig by One Way. And I have that jig and it works really, really well. Expensive. It's $100 for the jig. And then I think it's like $80 for the attachments to the jig. But PowerTech, POWERTEC, makes a knockoff, pardon me, a knockoff that they sell on Amazon. And actually, I'll put a link to that in the show notes. And it's the exact same thing. And it, you chuck, so basically it's like if you're doing an Irish grind on a bowl gouge, which is the swept back wings on a bowl gouge, so you can get more cutting surface, and use it kind of like a scraper. It's you put the gouge into this basically screw down, hold down system, and then it's got a little tail on it, and that pivots in this cradle, and it gives you a really consistent grind every time. So I would invest in one of those for sharpening. I used to sharpen freehand on my slow speed grinder, and it's really easy to ruin a gouge this instead of sharpening it, which can be really, really frustrating. So invest in that. Invest in a jig. that's my tip.
Yeah. I'm still trying to debate whether
it just always a little sloppy.
Yeah, I'll freehand sharpen with my super slow speed wet grinder, my 110 RPM wet grinder. But that's just because I can just do touch ups. But if I'm putting a new edge on a tool, you can go to the jig on the slow speed grinder.
Can you use the because I do have a slow speed grinder? Can you use the white wheels on there, or do you need the fancy metal ones that are perfectly true?
No, I use the white wheels. You're talking about the CVN wheels, or the
sure, whatever those are. Those are the metal ones.
Yeah, the metal ones with the diamond grits on it.
Yeah, those things look awesome. Cool. Like I have a hard time dressing my wheels properly. I feel like no matter how much how long I sit there, and no matter how bad the visibility gets in my shop from that white dust exploding all over the place, like I feel like I can never quite get it to where there's not like a little bit of a chatter, like when I'm sharpening stuff. Not bad, but enough to make me, curious.
Which kind of dresser are you using? Are you using the 2-inch wide?
The little, old school Gillette looking wheel dressers. It just looks like an old razor blade, sort of.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never had really that much of a problem. Huh. I don't know. Maybe you should invest in a new wheel. I don't know.
maybe just get better at doing things, I guess.
Yeah. Is there any run out on the arbor of your grinder?
I don't know. I know I had to I don't think it's the grinder, but I've heard that. I remember when I set it up, some people said that sometimes you have to shim the wheel a little bit to get it to run true, and I think I had to do that just a hair. But
yeah, so the flange that sits on your grinder to tighten down, when you tighten down the nut, there's a flange on it. I've read that there is, if you rotate that, tighten it down, turn it on, if there's still a wobble, rotate it a little bit more, that those can be, not machined perfectly flat, so it can actually put a tilt on your wheel.
Mm-hmm.
So I've read that if just fiddling with that, like if you mark, 12 o'clock on both the flange and the wheel, and then just rotate it and to find that kind of equilibrium, that balance, mm-hmm. you might be able to eliminate the wobble.
I feel like I'm just if that's the issue, I'm just going to sell it and buy something that's made better. Like I feel like if you have a grinder, it's kind of supposed to be a precision instrument. I mean, you're sharpening blades to the best point you can possibly sharpen them. And if your tool for creating tools is not machined properly, I feel like I should have just spent more money and gotten a better one. I mean, I think I have the Rikon slow speed grinder, which it's not a Harbor Freight grinder, but I don't know. I don't want to deal with trying to fix something that shouldn't need to be fixed. Yeah.
See, that's kind of funny because in my world, the grinder is like the sledgehammer of sharpening. It's the it's the nuclear option.
Yeah,
because that's one of the interesting things with the slower foot powered lathe is you really need the tip to be far sharper than what you can get on a grinder, because you need that true cutting edge. So the grinder, it's still a good option, but you'll get far better life with a diamond paddle or something like that.
So, out of curiosity, James, do you have any idea what kind of like RPMs you typically turn on a spring pole lathe?
Yeah, it depends on the size of the spindle you have the cord wrapped around. If, like when I was doing pin turning, the spindle was about 3/4 inch in diameter, I would get about 9 revolutions per stroke, and I could do 2.5 to 3 strokes a second. So if you do the math, it came out to like 1,600 RPM.
Holy crap!
Well, 1,600 RPM one way and then 1,600 RPM the other way, so you're actually doing around 3,000 RPM.
That is so much more than I expected.
But for like most spindle turning, you're wrapping around something about 2 inches in diameter, and in that case, you're only getting about 3 wraps, so you're probably getting a max speed of around 700 RPM.
Huh. Still, that's, I mean, the fact that when you're doing your cutting, you're getting, what, 15?
Yeah.
Or more. That's incredible. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really quick and easy to adjust. It's just how big your spindle is you have the cord wrapped around.
Huh. Crazy.
That's scary.
Yeah.
The first time.
Well, that's the thing. Like if I'm doing a bowl, I'm
I
probably going to be wrapping around something that's like 3 inches in diameter. I might only get 2 revolutions, and it have a max speed of a bowl at like 500.
Huh.
Okay, yeah, because the first time I put a big, uneven, unbalanced bowl blank on my lathe, thinking, yeah, this is going to be awesome, and I didn't have any weight on the bottom, and I turned it on to the slowest speed that my Harbor Freight lathe which is 600 RPMs, and it my lathe walked across the room, and it scared
yeah. And see, that's the other crazy thing about the spring pole lathe is the RPM can be whatever I want at any moment. I can make it 3 RPM 1 second, and the next moment make it 1,000 RPM, and the next moment take it to 500 RPM, and whatever I want, just with how fast I move my foot. And so the smaller things are automatically a faster RPM, whereas the larger things are automatically a slower RPM. And it's kind of it's kind of a cool system.
Yeah. What I haven't caught up on all your videos. What have you made on that thing so far?
Let's see. I made a mallet. I made ice cream scoops. I've made a pin. I made faces for a mallet. Just a bunch of little practice pieces. I've got another carving mallet I'm about to make. I'm going to do some, I have some letter opening kit that I'm going to be doing here soon. So a little bit of everything. I got a bowl I want to do next week.
I think I just read my new favorite joke in the entire history of corny woodworking jokes. Anybody want to do that?
Yes.
It's our joke of the week segment.
Okay.
All right. Can I do it?
Yeah, please.
All right. Okay. All right. Did you hear about the woodworker who died when he fell into a vat of varnish? It was a terrible end, but a beautiful finish.
That's so good. That's the best one I think we've ever had.
I had that one. It's the guy who drank a gallon of shellac.
What's that? Oh, the same
guy
thing.
Who drank a gallon of shellac.
Yeah. That's great. That's my favorite.
Well, we do have another question. Benny Woodworks asks, I don't know if any of you have or would work with a drum sander, but I just got one and am wondering, while making a frame for a panel door, would you route your profiles before or after the sanding?
Well, I haven't used a drum sander, but I've been pestering Grizzly to send me one for a while, and they haven't yet. But I would assume that that wouldn't have anything to do, so that the drum wouldn't affect the routed profile, because that would be, let's say you're doing an OG profile. The sanding drum wouldn't touch that, so I would think it would be moot. The point would be moot.
I would theoretically I would do the sanding after before, because if you think about it, just imagine like a chamfer or something just in your mind. So if you cut, well, actually say a round, say you're just going to do a round on something. If you round it and then do a lot of sanding, it's actually going to push into what you did with the router. I mean, if you do enough sanding, I think typically it wouldn't be an issue, but just out of, just based on theory, I would think that you would actually want to do your sanding before you do your routing, or most of your sanding.
Yeah.
If you route a round over or something and then take off, just to exaggerate the point, to paint the picture, say you do your round over bit and then you sand a 1/4 of an inch, not that you'd ever sand that much, but obviously you're going to have less of a round over in that spot because you sanded into the piece. So
I've always viewed the drum sander as the final pass of the thickness planer. So, you thickness plane your material and then you run it through the drum sander to get rid of any tracks from the thickness planer and bring it to its final thickness. And then you do all of your joinery and your detail work. But yeah, I've never owned one, so.
yeah, if Johnny Brook were here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I want to make.
What's that?
Oh, can I make a little announcement for
Absolutely.
any listeners?
Sure.
Yeah. So this weekend, anybody in the Virginia area, Central Virginia specifically, or DC, Maryland, North Carolina, West Virginia, Paul Jackman of Jackman Works and I are hosting. Yeah, we're hosting a meetup at Hackett Enterprises, which is this ginormous. It's a mom and pop guy, Glenn Hackett, and his wife Bobby, that run it. But he's an arborist that has a mill on the side, and he's got tens of thousands of board feet of cut, dried, live edge slabs. This place is amazing. But meet up from 10 to 2 if you are interested in showing up. You can send me an email at so it's info@wmwalkerco.com, and I can get you all the details and the address and all that.
Sweet. You're making me want to drive out for it. It's only 14 hours away.
Yeah, I wish I were closer.
Yeah. And so there's some pretty good turnout so far. I think there's maybe like 15 guys that are definitely coming, and maybe more. I don't know. But anyway, so if you're in the area, come on out.
Very cool.
You guys, side note, are you guys excited about taxes coming up?
Taxes?
Yeah.
What
about
doing
taxes?
the quarter or doing next year or doing
Just
this year?
paying your taxes for the end of the year. It's exciting. It's always fun.
Oh.
You guys pay quarterlies?
Yeah.
No,
That's
I do not.
Yeah.
You're lucky.
It's
awful.
I'm not organized enough.
Cool.
All
We want
right.
to talk about what we're reading this week.
Yeah.
Will, you're top of the list. Watching, reading.
Oh, I'm watching James Wright of Wood by Wright. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He does a lot of hand tool woodworking.
Sounds like a crummy channel.
And he just did a video like every day in the month of November, and so I've been watching a lot of him. A lot of great tips. He's got cool clogs too.
You still wearing those things?
Oh yeah, no, they're extremely
Nice.
comfortable. And I get a lot of people who are. A lot of arguments start over those clogs, because people who immediately think, "Wow, that's got to be uncomfortable." I'm like, no, they're actually carved to fit my foot, so they're really comfortable. And they.
So something I noticed in a video, and that would drive me nuts. You were planing something. You're making the drawing bow, and you were playing
yes.
that thin stock, and it looked like you were
I
all over the shop,
should
like you
have
didn't have
cut
any
that
grip.
out of that video, but no, that day the leather on the bottom of my clogs came off. So I have all the sawdust on the floor on a concrete floor with wooden shoes. And so I was sliding around a good bit, and I've since glued more leather back on there. But yeah, no, as soon as sawdust or
All right, good
chips on the
save.
floor, they slide quite easily. But, yeah. For me, I was watching a video this week, and I was rather disgusted by it. It was this guy took a bunch of wood and he made this manly leg and put a light bulb on top. No, he made Paul Jackman from Jackman Works made a leg lamp from A Christmas Story, but with a manly twist. It was phenomenal. We did it with Carolina boots on and a leather lamp. Very, very cool.
I think I would have picked that one if you hadn't. But if I could recommend you watch one video for the rest of the year of 2017, watch Paul Jackman's leg lamp video, because it's just the best idea I think I've seen.
Artistically phenomenal.
It's just brilliant on like so many fronts. So I wonder how many times he's just gotten the comment fragile. I bet he's probably heard that like a million times. Let's see. For me, I just came across this. I don't watch a whole lot of YouTube, but every now, I try when I can. But I came across this guy, Peter Schreipol or Schreipol. I don't know how to pronounce it. He did a video on Nerf powered steam gun. Yes. That was really, really cool. Just the way this guy's mind works, and it's pretty entertaining. So that's one of the ones that I watched, and right now I'm reading. I can't remember what I just finished, but I just started reading Tribes by Seth Green, which is just kind of a marketing-ish. I can't noun verb that one. I don't know how to do that. But yeah, it's all right. It's all right so far. Not crazy about it, but it's worth reading at this point. So
cool.
Favorite tool of the week. What about you guys?
For me, I'm going all techie and going with Google Home. I tried out the Alexa and it works fairly well, but Google Home is just miles ahead. And we've completely redone our house with smart outlets and lights and switches, and it's phenomenal. I've just been having fun, and the kids have been having a lot of fun. And I can't say it right now because otherwise I'm gonna have things suddenly go off in the house. But yeah, Google Home. I use it in the shop. Like when I'm recording videos, I can just tell it to pause the music while I run a clip, and then I'll start the music back up, or turn lights on off, and I can say, what's my favorite one? The turn on artistic setting, so that I have one raking light running across my bench, and I can have it automatically turn on that light and off that light.
Insane. So
just by staying there talking.
I don't really know. I think it's funny because we're like totally opposite. Like you're all old school in the shop and all high tech at home, and I'm high tech in the shop and old school in the home. So like I don't even know what that stuff does. So like what you said, you can just say like pause the music or turn off. Like is that its own music player or?
Well, it's connected to my Kano's. Like I'll tell it to play one of my playlists, and I'll just name it.
What's it play through? Is it like its own speaker or? Yeah,
the Google Home has its own speaker, and it comes in 3 different versions. There's the Mini, which is just like this little puck. The music is okay, but it's like $20. Right now it's on sale. And then there's the Google Home, the main one, which actually has really good sound. A little bit heavy on the bass, but it fills a room really nicely.
What would be a good one for my shop? Because one of the things I have to do to make room for these tools.
As you are a music guy, there's the Google Home Max, which is pricey, but the sound quality is like having an orchestra in your garage. It is absolutely incredible.
Huh.
It is the best single speaker system I have ever heard.
This totally sounds like we're being paid to advertise this. But looks like William just crashed his computer, so he'll hopefully be with us when we finish up here in a minute. But no, I've had like this gigantic PA system in my garage that I've just lugged around for the past like 5 years, and it's way overkill for my shop, and I have to get rid of it because now with the tools that I have, I just don't have room for it. So yeah. I just want something that's small that I can listen to music in my shop.
Yeah, so. you would like the Google Home Regular then. It's got good sound quality, and it's just so easy to just say stop music and then start music.
Nice.
It picks up on your playlists and your system. So
cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
My favorite tool of the week is the Nova Voyager drill press that I just put together yesterday. I am so excited to not have to deal with belts, and so I bought the old drill press that I have from some like machine shop, and somebody drilled, like the tables like move around. Somebody drilled through the table, so
in a circle.
What's that?
There's 100 holes in it, an arc across the table.
Yeah. So my old one has like somebody drilled like halfway through the table with like a 1-inch drill bit. I don't know how. I don't even know how you do that. Like, how do you not notice?
Put a sandbag on the arm and just let it run.
Yeah, especially with like that large of a bit. So I don't know. It's nice to just have something that's nice and new and clean in my shop, because almost nothing in my shop is new and or clean. So yeah. Will is not with us right now.
We don't have Will. He has on his list the simple box joint jig, which I would love for him to clarify which simple box joint jig, but I guess we're going to have to imagine that without him.
Yeah.
Will has a connection issue today, so oh well.
He's not at home, so.
But I think that about does it for this week. It has been. Yep. Will, you back?
You're back. Just in time.
What's your favorite tool of the week?
I will go ahead and put that grinding jig on favorite tool, because now I want to turn something.
Well, you had the simple box joint jig, and we tried to do our best to explain what that is.
Oh, okay. So the simple box joint jig, I was making that the box joint cabinet, and I, instead of making a whole crazy elaborate jig, I just took my miter gauge from my table saw and screwed a sacrificial board to the face of that, made a cut with the dado stack, moved it over the thickness of the box joint finger in that first slot, and it's really, really effective, and I put it together in like 5 minutes. So nice. I'll probably do a video on it, just because it's like a keep it simple, stupid solution to box joint jigs.
I did one of those a while ago on my a crosscut sled video, and I made a box joint jig that's detachable that you can just screw on there.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah. Cool. Well, I think that wraps it up, huh?
Yeah, that's about it for this week. So I do want to say again a huge thank you to the patrons on Patreon, particularly Master. Excuse me, swallowed a bug. Master of None, Debbie Brooke, and Make Build Modify. And we'll be back here every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And if you want to join us live and have your questions, you can do so at our YouTube channel, The Creators Collective. So that's about it for today. Until next time, see ya.
Take care.
Adios.